Hello and welcome to Christie's Cropping and Creating. I'm so glad that you joined me today. And as you can see here, I have a couple of album covers I wanted to show you. Um, if you have any desire at all to be a Creative Memories advisor, get some free things that are offered from time to time, and then also be able to get your supplies at a discount. Sometimes you can earn your supplies for free as well. I wanted to show you these two things because this is something that Creative Memories is offering right now. This is an album cover only available to new advisors. So you will get this with your first order. It's only $49 to become an advisor, and you immediately get a $50 credit to spend. So it's paying you $1 to become an advisor. You will get this album in with your first order. And for the month of July, if you join my team in the month of July, I'm also going to offer you this album cover, which is fantastic for vacation photos, whether you're going to the beach, going somewhere tropical, maybe you live at the lake, or you just love palm trees, whatever it might be. This is a beautiful color. I know that my light reflects off of the plastic, and just the color doesn't show through as well for either one of them when they're wrapped in plastic and then on the computer screens. So this beautiful design has an iridescent look to it. It's not silver. I guess it's a shade of blue that is different from the cover. But I wanted to show these things to you. So please reach out to me if you have any questions or desires to do what I do and share your love of scrapbooking with some family and friends, or just get your own supplies, like I said, at a discount. So I wanted to start out by showing you those things. And then I'm going to show you what today's design is based on. This is the double page spread that I created a couple of weeks ago from an idea from Susan Sturgis, who is she is a subscriber to this channel. So thank you, Susan, for giving us the instructions for this. And then this is my companion page to go with it. I really loved this idea. I made it a couple of different ways. This was using the Devotion collection, and this was using the Silver and Gold collection. And I know that this one is, pretty busy with the plaid and the gold reflective foiling of this paper, but I really loved this design. And one night I was having a hard time going to sleep and I thought of something else to try using this concept. So I'm using Susan's instructions, but I'm changing it up a little bit. I'm going to show you what it's going to look like. This is what it's going to look like. Instead of using the same piece of paper, just one sheet of paper, I'm using two different papers. So this is what I'm teaching today. And let me grab back this sample. This has a ring that, using the jumbo circle maker that goes around underneath the mats. Well, with this one, I felt like it's got enough going on that I didn't want to take the time to cut my circle. So I am changing it up a little bit that way as well. So here's what we're going to work on. And if you need any help creating the other two pages that I've already shown you, just let me know. So for this design, I used Enchanted Princess, and I used our Purple Ice cardstock. And we're going to conserve cardstock because we're going to cut a hole out of the back, and that will help us make our mats without having to use another piece of cardstock. And also, because we're using two different prints, I need a welding piece to hold my two pieces together. So I have my supplies out. This is using some of the contents from the secret box that was unveiled this past Friday night, the 14th of July. And so I'm going to use this star paper. It has a really pretty constellation look on the back. This paper, I don't know if it's intended to be phases of the moon or what, but I like it. And I also like how the back just looks like little explosions almost. It's got some interesting color, and this may make for a really weird looking design because we are going to see both sides of both papers. And canary cardstock is going to be my base, and then I have my welding strip to put my two pieces of paper together. So we're going to start by getting our 12-inch trimmer, and I am going to make a frame, a 1.5-inch wide frame. You can make your frame thinner if you would like, but you're definitely not going to want to go thinner than 1 inch because you're going to have a place for your paper to adhere to. So I am starting at the 1.5 inch, and I will go down to the base of my housing will be at the 11.5 inch, and then I've got 1.5 inches here, 1.5 inches here. So I will rotate it, put my paper back at the 1.5 inch mark, and I will start and stop to give myself a 1.5 inch frame. Now you can place your clips on the trimmer. I do love doing that. And honestly, I'm not real sure why I didn't take the time to just now set my clips so that I don't even have to think about where do I need to start and where do I need to stop. And what I mean by clips are these little things that you get from the office supply store, and you can place them on your trimmer so that your blade doesn't go up too far or down too low. But since I didn't do it on the first 3 sides, I will not take the time to do it on this side either. Let me just put this back at the 1.5 inch. Once you have a cut, it makes it pretty easy to see where to stop and start anyway. So this I will save to make my mats out of, and this will be my base. If you did use an entire sheet of paper, it could be helpful because of the fact that you're placing different pieces of paper on the base. And so it does help for sturdiness to place it on a full sheet of paper, but it's also nice to conserve. Also seeing that I'm going to be putting this on a scrapbook page when it physically goes into my scrapbook. So it's going to have the sturdiness that it needs once it's in my scrapbook anyway. Now, if your paper is a directional paper, I'm not sure that this side is, because to me, I think it looks okay either way. And the same thing for this side. But if your paper is directional, make sure that you cut it going the right way for this next step. So I'm going to need a 6 inch by 12 inch piece to start with. And also keep in mind, if it's directional, that when you're designing the rest of this, your paper is going to fold up. So if the front of it is not directional, but the back of it is, you do have to keep that in mind when you're doing this design. I do want my designs, it's probably hard to see them. I want them going across the page like this. So therefore, I'm going to turn my paper sideways so that when I place it horizontally on my page, it will be going across this way. So 6" by 12. This piece is left over and it can be saved for another project. My star paper that I'm using next, it's also basically not directional because these stars are just kind of going all over the place. And then the constellations on the back, I don't think there is a right or wrong way for them to be going across the page. So I'm going to put it at 6 inches, and hopefully I am right in saying that it's not going to matter in the end. And again, this 6" by 12" piece is left over and can be used on another project. Before I do my before I put my welded pieces together, I'm going to go ahead and show you how we are going to trim this so that we can make this design, okay? Whichever piece is going to go at the top, we're going to cut along the top right and down the side right, but not all the way through. And we'll do the same thing on the top left and down the side left, but not all the way through. And we're not going to make any cuts along the bottom because it's going to be mounted to our page like this eventually. So we're not going to cut anything along the bottom of this piece. And we are making a 1/2 inch cut. So we need to start at the 1/2 inch and we need to end at the 5.5 inch. And remember, your blade housing is 2 inches wide. It starts cutting right in the middle where the line is. So if I place my housing at the 1.5 to start cutting, that will actually start cutting at the 1/2 inch. And if I stop it at the 6.5 inch, it will actually stop cutting at the 5.5, the bottom of it at the 6.5, it'll stop cutting at the 5.5. So this is what I'm going to do. Make that cut. And then I need to go this way, which will end up being across the top. So I'm going to put my paper back at the 1/2 inch. And I will start cutting at the 1/2 inch. And I will end at the 5.5 inch. So I will have a piece that looks like this, okay? You can do across the top here or here, whichever you prefer to do first. I will go ahead and do it this way. And I'm just going to repeat those same steps, making a slit that is a 1/2 inch wide and 5.5 inches long. This would be another great place to place your clips so that you don't have to do so much thinking. So here is what we have, and eventually it's going to fold in like this. But for now, I will put this piece over with my yellow base, and then we're going to need to do the same thing to our bottom piece of paper. This piece of paper, if it's directional, just make sure you're cutting along just the bottom side of the way it's going to be mounted on your page. And so it'll be the bottom left and right sides and the bottom horizontally across. And it's still the same measurements in terms of a 1/2 inch strip cut 5.5 inches long, only on the side and the bottom of each. I think I went a little too deep on that one, which it will end up being okay, but just be careful and make sure you're stopping where you want to stop. Yeah, that'll be fine. Okay, let's see here. I will flip it to this side to come across, which will, it's what I'm cutting right now is essentially where it's going to be on my, across the bottom of my page. And then I will go back to placing it at the 1/2 inch. It probably takes longer to do this than anything else about this design. It's just such a cool design. I love it that people can think about things like this and share cool designs for others of us to see. So this one will fold up like this when we are working on our design. I'm going to go ahead and cut my mats while I have my trimmer out. I think I'm going to be able to put my trimmer up after this part, so that's why I want to go ahead and cut them. I'm going to make my mats 4¼ inches, 4¼ inch squares. So I'm going to take this piece of paper, cut it at 4¼ I will make 2 from this one. I will have this strip left to save for another project. I'll put those in that pile there. I'll come back to this. I need to cut at 4¼ again. So this was left over for another project. I do have a scrap folder for each color of cardstock, not for each color family. Like I have a folder of yellows that I keep together, and folder of blues, pinks, so forth and so on. I keep my scraps in my power project folders. So this is, I now have 4 mats, which is perfect for what we need for this project. And I think we're finished with this. So I'm going to put it underneath. Then I'm going to take my papers, and I want the top slits of my top paper to be at the top, the bottom slits of my bottom paper to be at the bottom. And this is the side I'm going to have facing up. So when we turn down, we'll have the darker colors as being what's turned down. So that means I need to adhere these together, weld these together from the back. So I'm going to put this on my 12-inch mat, excuse me, my 13-inch mat, and weld these together just by using a scrap piece of cardstock that, you know, the color is not going to show through. Nothing about it is going to matter other than the fact that it is a piece that I'm going to adhere across here so that it will hold these 2 pieces of paper together, like make it like a whole piece of paper all over again. I am going to use regular adhesive for this. However, this doesn't look regular either. What is this? This might be my, oh, it just wasn't ready to go. I started to say, maybe this is my vellum. I thought I had my vellum one marked, but anyway, it doesn't matter if you use regular or if you use repositionable. I just thought I would do it for the strength of it. And you will possibly need to trim your welding piece when we start doing the folds. So I may regret using regular tape runner, but I now have my two pieces of paper together, and I can see right here that I've got a little overhang from that welding strip. So I'm gonna go ahead, if I can get my hands on it the right way. I'm trying not to cover up what I'm doing while I'm doing it, but I'm just gonna cut that little tail off. And see that little tail that was hanging on there? Throw it away. Then we can put our piece of paper on our background, and then we can start doing the actual design, or we can start the design and then adhere this piece to the back. Because I've welded and I may need to trim that welding piece and things like that, I'm going to start by not adhering it yet. But essentially, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be folding this down to where the slit is. So when you do this, it will be like making a frame with this slit of paper. And if you use your mat, I need some more adhesive on some of these pieces. If you use your mat, you can even make sure you're getting it pretty well centered just by having, I can't decide which mat to use. Like if I have it centered on my mat, then I can use that six that is up there to make sure I'm getting these strips as even as possible. But you may need to play with it a little bit, and you may mash it down one time and then realize, oh, nope, you need to go back and readjust. I have had designs that I've done using this technique where I haven't had to mess with it too much. And then I've had a few where I did have to like continue to mash over and over again. So don't worry about if you do have to readjust, and keep in mind that scrapbooking is not something that has to be absolutely perfect. Now, those two are way off, but again, I can readjust and get it to look the way I want it to look before I physically tape these two pieces down. So see, just a little bit of tweaking and it works. And I don't know that y'all can see it yet. I'm going to hold it up close, but you'll see what I mean about you might need to end up trimming your welding piece. See how that little triangle is going to show right there? So before I adhere it, I can just take my scissors and trim off that little piece so that it won't show once it is mounted to my background piece. All right, so I'm happy with those. Let me start with this one. And if you can try to have this edge even with this edge, and then also about the same amount of paper of the other background paper showing between here and here as it is between the dark blue and the stars, that will probably be pleasing to you. And the same thing on the left side as is on the right side. And I think I'm going to be happy with that. Now let me trim my welding strip that is showing right here. Oh, where's my lifter stick? I need it to get that little piece of paper out of the way. So once I mount my paper to my base, you will have the edges here mounted all the way, to the edges here, and then you should have your top and bottom that will come all the way to the edge there as well. So that's pretty easy to do. Since your frame is not a whole lot bigger than this square that ends up being created from you doing this design, I'm going to put my adhesive directly on my base. You can do it the other way around if you want to. I just felt like it made it easier to make sure I wasn't going in too far if I put the adhesive on my paper, because then it might be that the adhesive ends up in this open square. So that's why I wanted to put it on my base first. I was trying to decide that. Okay. So again, I will have the sides of this cross will touch the two edges of the base, and the top and bottom will also be touching. And then I'm going to smooth that out to adhere it. And now, see, one more little welding piece that I don't like showing there. It's just barely a snip. I'm going to put my adhesive on my pieces that are going to stick down. You can use repositionable, you can use regular, whatever you want to use. I almost always use repositionable these days. I hardly ever pick up my regular because the repositionable is so good. It's like, it's the best of both worlds in that it holds things down permanently, unless you choose to move it. And then it does allow you to move things when you've made a little mistake. So I love that. Lord only knows I make mistakes. I think that will be good. And since we've pre-folded this, you should be able to get it back the way you had it. Of course, because I said that, I made a little crinkle that I didn't quite like. And now I'm ready for my mats that we've already pre-cut. And this is what it's going to look like. So it's a really colorful starry night, summer night. I think you could use this page for anything. I think it could be used for vacations. It could be used for truly chasing the fireflies on a summer night. And you're basically going to be centering your photo mats in each square that was created by folding up your paper, the slits of the paper, and folding it up. So is that not cool? I just love, love, love this. And I'm so glad that Susan shared the instructions when somebody asked about it, because I could not figure out how did they get that circle underneath, which of course I didn't do the circle on this one, but I did on the others. And I just couldn't figure it out. But now I have it because people love to share. So here is my finished design. I hope that y'all like it. I like it. I can put a 4-inch square picture on my mats, and then I will have like a double matted photo or the yellow could just represent the photo. Either way, here are the two designs side by side, Enchanted Princess and Summer Nights from the Secret Box number 2 of 2023. Again, I hope that y'all enjoyed this, and thank you for watching. If you do need information about becoming an advisor, joining my team, and getting that album for free, you can reach me at kristibolin@gmail.com. Kristi's Kristi, Bolin is BOLIN @gmail.com. And if you don't have an advisor and you need to order some supplies, my website is creativememories.com/user/kristibolin. And I would love to help you. Thank you again for sharing this time with me and watching. And I hope that you enjoy creating this fun page that is colorful and can be used for lots of different ideas and fun events. Y'all have a great day, and I will see you again next week.